Hello everyone, DM Gashbad here, and we are back with Game 4, the final game of The Rat Hunters, the narrative solo campaign for Warcry from the 2021 Tome of Champions. The Rat Hunters campaign is based on the Vermintide video game, and this final scenario is called Ambush in the Dark. We'll get into that in a minute. First, let's take a look at my warband. I started off with a 1,000 point Slaves to Darkness warband called Haldora's Explorers, led by the Darkoath Warqueen Haldora Helsdoter. The rest of the warband consists of a Chaos Knight with ensorcelled handweapon and shield, 2 Chaos Warriors with handweapon and shield, 2 Marauders with handweapon and shield, and 4 Marauders with flails. These guys have gone through 3 battles already. If you haven't seen those games, you might as well watch them. The long story short is that we've won all 3 games, nobody has died, most of my guys have gotten a level of destiny, the notable exclusions being my Chaos Knight and half of the Flail Marauders. The Flail Marauder with the top knot actually has 2 levels of destiny. We've got a handful of lesser artifacts that we can use. Haldora herself has a jar of Shamanic Glowflies, which are not very useful, but the Knight has a healing potion. The Chaos Warrior with the top knot has the Chronomantic Dial. That gives him +1 attack for the rest of the battle, which is pretty good. And the warrior with the spike on top, he has a vial of Jabberslythe blood, which gives him +1 damage to his crits, which is okay. Moving on to the Skaven, which are going to be controlled by the game's AI, we have 1,200 points of them now, so kind of a lot. First off, it's led by the Claw Lord. He's my target for this battle. And for the first time in this campaign, I actually had to paint new Skaven models to make a nice even 100 points that I'd be adding from the last game. So I painted up a second Packmaster and a Storm Vermin, which I've been meaning to do for a long time anyway. So upgrading a Clan Rat to a Storm Vermin and the Packmaster, that's my 100 points. So that brings the entire warband at 1 Claw Lord, 1 Warp Fire Thrower, 1 Storm Vermin, 2 Gutter Runners, 1 Scryer Acolyte or Poisoned Wind Globadier, 2 Packmasters, 3 Clan Rats with hand weapons, and 4 Giant Rats. And here's the table that I'll be using. I know it looks pretty sparse, but I don't know, for some reason that's what I had in my mind when I was setting this thing up. The battle takes place down underground underneath the Skaven layer, so I just thought it'd be this big open area with just a couple of piles of rubble and some pillars. I actually did paint up those pillars for this game. Those are from the Balin's Tomb set from GW's Lord of the Rings game. I don't have to worry about battle groups for my guys for this game. We all just set up within 3 inches of the center. I put Haldora in the dead center because she's kind of important to this scenario. My flails kind of make an inner ring because they have a nice long reach. And the Knights and the Chaos Warriors and the Marauders with the hand weapons and shields are on the outer ring because they have the best toughness and can more easily absorb the attacks that I imagine will be incoming. The Skaven do still get set up into battle groups, and I roll randomly to see which board edge the battle groups set up on. On a 1, they set up on the west board edge. On a 2 through 3, they set up on the north. On a 4, they go in the east, and on a 5, 6, they go on the south. 2 battle groups managed to roll a 1, so I've got a huge pile of rats over on the left. That includes the Warp Fire Thrower, 2 Clan Rats, the Storm Vermin, 3 Giant Rats, a Gutter Runner, and a Packmaster. The other battle group is up on the top at the north. That includes a Packmaster, a Giant Rat, a Clan Rat, a Gutter Runner, and the Poisoned Wind Globadier. You may notice that the Claw Lord hasn't been deployed yet. The rules for this scenario are that the leader of the Skaven warband doesn't show up until round 3 in the reserves phase, so beginning of round 3. After I kill said Claw Lord, I then have to roll a table edge randomly like I did before, and that is my target exit point. My leader, Haldora, has to get within 1 inch of that table edge, and no enemy models can be within 3 inches of her. If I've met those status conditions at the end of a battle round, then I win. If Haldora gets killed, then I lose. Pretty easy, right? It would be, except for one small rule. Any Skaven that I kill reappear the next round. They get brought in as reserves as one big group on a random table edge. So, I have to fight off an unending tide of Skaven. I have to find and destroy the enemy leader. Then I have to get my movement 4 leader to a random table edge and clear out any enemy fighters within 3 inches. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm probably going to lose this game. That's okay, this is a solo campaign, there's nothing wrong with making the last battle really challenging. But it's a lot of ground to cover and a lot of guys to kill for my pretty slow, offensively mediocre warband. I do have a few advantages to start with though. Number 1, one of my shield marauders has a blast powder bomb. That's a cool little weapon that can be lobbed at an enemy fighter, and anyone within 3 inches of that point gets d6 wounds on the roll of a 4+ on a d6. So that's nice for these big hordes. Also, for winning one of the scenarios, I get 2 wild dice every round instead of 1. And whatever else you can say about the Slaves to Darkness army, they can take a punch, and that's mostly what I'm going to be doing for these early rounds. It doesn't really matter how many Skaven I kill, but I need to survive until that Claw Lord gets here. My initial thought in this game was that I was going to try and injure as many Skaven as possible as they came in, and then in the next turn start killing them all off. That way they don't reappear, and I can hopefully kill them off before they have a chance to act. To my credit, I think I found out that this was kind of a dumb plan right away. If I leave a bunch of injured Skaven in front of me at the start of the turn, then even if I kill one of them off in my activation, they're just going to activate the next one that's in contact with me, and that means they get 2 full attack actions against me, and even worse, have the possibility of getting that deadly strike behavior on their behavior chart, which automatically dumps d6 wounds into one of my guys. So yeah, even though it's not necessary, it's to my benefit to kill off as many of these Skaven as I can, so they have to waste movement actions coming back on the board in the next round. So with all that introductory stuff out of the way, let's get right into the battle. For my first set of ability dice, I get 2 2s, 2 4s, and 2 singles. The Skaven always count as having 3 singles, so they're going to be going first with this dice roll, which I think is just fine. I can let them come to me. I am going to use one of my 2 wild dice to turn the 2 4s into triple 4s, because I do want to use Haldora's Spurred by the Gods ability. So Skaven get to activate first. It doesn't say specifically in the rules which rat activates first, so I just say the closest rat is the one that's going to go. In this case, it's going to be the clan rat in the north. He's going to roll on his behavior chart, and he's just going to get his standard 2 actions. So he makes a regular move, gets into contact with my lead Chaos Warrior, makes his attack, and manages to miss. So in accordance with the plan, I am going to activate Haldora Helsdoter. She is immediately going to use that triple to use Spurred by the Gods, which is going to give everyone within 3 inches of her +1 attack die on any of their attacks with a range of 3 or less, which is all of my attacks. She is also within 1 inch of that clan rat because my Chaos Warriors base is 1 inch wide because I'm using Warhammer Fantasy bases. So she throws an attack action into him and immediately gets 2 crits, which is going to kill that clan rat right off the bat. Just stabs over the shoulder of this Chaos Warrior and takes his head off. Nice job, Haldora. She just chills for her last action. Next up for the Skaven is the giant rat to the north, who rolls a recuperate move. He doesn't have any damage to recuperate, so he just makes a normal move into my Chaos Warrior like that. It's my turn to activate. I would have rather there'd been something a little bit more valuable for me to attack than just this giant rat, but what can you do? I'm going to activate the Flail Marauder with the top knot, kind of in the center right in this picture. He's going to drop his attacks into that giant rat. With 2 attack actions, he's able to kill it. Again, it's going to come right back, but it's better than leaving him inside my lines. And with 2 activations and 2 Skaven dead, I'm feeling pretty good about how this game is going so far. I know that's famous last words. It's early still. Next to activate is the Northern Gutter Runner. He's actually in range with his throwing stars, so he doesn't move at all. He gets his standard 2 actions. This is pretty good for me because his ranged actions are a lot weaker than his melee ones. He does manage to lob a throwing star right into the visor of my Chaos Warrior, so he gets a crit and causes 3 points of damage, but it's not as bad as what would have happened if he were close up. In contrast to that, though, is that Globadier, who is next to activate. His ranged attack, although he only gets 1 attack, it's a lot more dangerous. It causes 3 damage, 6 on the crit. He's much weaker attacking close up. So for my next activation, I'm going to activate my Knight, and he's going to gallop into that Globadier. This will still put him at ranged attack range of that Gutter Runner, so I'm happy where he is. This does pose a little bit of a risk because all these guys that I've killed, they're going to reappear on a random table edge, and it's possible that my Knight is just going to get surrounded by the next wave of Skaven. If that happens, I'm just going to have to make a hasty retreat before I get overwhelmed. In the meantime, though, I would like to kill off this Globadier before he gets a chance to attack, so I'm going to use my Onslaught ability. So I'm going to use my last double, I'm going to get an extra attack, and the Chaos Knight does me proud. He does 12 points of damage to this Globadier, more than enough to kill him, drops him. Yeah, so far so good for the Slaves to Darkness. So that means it's over to the last model in the north, which would be that Packmaster. He rolls a recuperate move, which is just fine. So he heals all the damage that he has, which is none, and moves into my Chaos Knight. So now what time is it? I figure it's bomb time. My marauder over there on the right with the shield that's more towards the bottom. Anyway, he's going to use his first action to touch forward just a little bit to get barely within 9 inches of that lead storm vermin on the left. He's going to take his big ol' Adam West scale bomb and lob it at those guys, and it's going to explode and hit all of the Skaven in that western group. And the dice come out hot, not like last game. The Warpfire Thrower takes 3 points of damage, Clan Rat takes 3, another Clan Rat takes 1, the Storm Vermin takes 5, the Packmaster takes 1 point of damage, and a giant rat is killed. That was a very satisfying explosion, spreading a lot of damage around these guys just like I wanted. The next Skaven to activate is the Storm Vermin in the west. He rolls a recuperate move, which means that he heals back all 5 of the points of damage that I just landed on him. Oh well, easy come, easy go. At least he doesn't drop any attacks into my guys. He does get his normal move towards my shield wall. So without anyone really close up to attack, I'm going to activate one of my Marauders with flails next. He's going to touch forward, he's going to stay within the 3-inch range of Haldora's Spurred by the Gods, and he's also going to get within 3 inches of that Gutter Runner. Again, I'm taking a chance. I don't want this Knight and this Marauder to get ambushed by reappearing rats, but I do like the idea of clearing out these guys. Anyway, with his 4 attack dice, he manages to whack 6 points of damage onto that Gutter Runner, which is not bad at all. On the left, a Clan Rat over there gets his standard 2 actions and makes a double move into my Marauder with the shield. I activate him immediately after in response and drop 2 attack actions into that Clan Rat. I don't roll great. The Marauders with the shields, they only have 2 attacks plus 1 for Spurred by the Gods, and they are a strength lower than the toughness of these Clan Rats, so I'm only hitting on 5s. So I only drop 1 point of damage into the Clan Rat. The next Clan Rat makes a recuperate move. He heals his 1 point of damage, oh well, and joins his Storm Vermin buddy. I now activate the Flail Marauder behind the shield wall. He does a lot better and knocks the head off of that Clan Rat assaulting my lines. A Giant Rat now gets his standard 2 action, so he makes a double move into my Shield Bomb Marauder. The Flail Marauder on the right has to move in a little, but then he throws his attacks into that Clan Rat, and with the help of Spurred by the Gods, manages to kill it. For the next Skaven activation, I get a little lucky, and the Warpfire Thrower gets a recuperate move. It does heal its 3 points of damage, which is a drag, but it does only move up and doesn't fire its weapon because it is out of range. For my next activation, I go and activate the Chaos Warrior in the north, the one with the spiky hat. He's going to go ahead and down that vial of Jabberslythe blood, so now he gets +1 damage to all his crits. But there's no one he wants to go and sprint into to attack, so he just moves a little bit. That means he can help out in the north and also gives a little room for Haldora to move through if she needs to. Western Packmaster just makes a move into my Shield Marauders. And my Chaos Warrior in the south with the top knot, he's going to go and use his Chronomantic Dial, which gives him a nice +1 attack. Now he's got 4 attacks at strength 4, well 5 plus the Spurred for the Gods bonus. He's going to move into that newly arrived Packmaster and drop him. So another dead rat for the pile. I get lucky again with another ranged threat getting a recuperate move. This time it's the Gutter Runner who just jaunts forward a little bit and doesn't attack. He also wasn't hurt by the bomb, so no loss there. Less fortunate was the Giant Rat nearby. He gets the charge result. This is the first time I think that I've gotten that 5 or 6 result on the behavior chart. I've been rolling pretty well so far. Anyway, he gets a bonus move towards my Chaos Warrior, finishes off with his regular 2 actions, which includes 1 more move and then 1 round of attacks. With his 3 attack dice, he manages to get 2 5s, which means he plants 2 points of damage on my Chaos Warrior. Well, he can take it. And that's it for round 1. So far, we're doing okay. Granted, the rats are a lot closer, and a lot of them are coming back. For my ability dice, I get 2 2s, 2 1s, and 2 singles. I go ahead and spend one of my wild dice to make the 2s a triple. I'd have to spend my remaining 2 wild dice in order to go first. I just don't see that as being worthwhile. I'm going to bank those 2 wild die and let the Skaven go first. But first, the Endless Hordes rule kicks in, and all the Skaven that I killed the round before show up at a random table edge. I roll a 1 again, meaning they file in on that western board edge again. Look at them, I killed 7 of those guys last round. But if I can keep cutting them down at this rate, maybe I'm in with a shot. But the Skaven get to activate first. I've got 2 Skaven in contact with my guys, so I randomize which one gets to attack first. We go with the Giant Rat. Unfortunately, that Giant Rat gets the Deadly Strike ability. I knew I spoke too soon in saying I was getting lucky with those behaviors. He drops a mighty 5 points of damage into my Chaos Warrior. It goes right through the armor, doesn't need to roll to hit or anything like that. That hurt. His first set of attacks after that completely miss, but his next set do 2 more points of damage. Okay, that Chaos Warrior is hurt and I need to retreat him. So, on my activation, I'm going to start off with that Chaos Warrior. He's going to take his first attack action, those nice 4 dice, and he's going to kill that giant rat. So that helps, that's one problem down. And then he's just going to retreat so he's not the closest model anymore. We'll let those Shield Marauders take a couple hits for a while. The Packmaster in the north is up next. The first thing he's going to do is recuperate, gets that 1 or 2 on the behavior chart, then he gets his normal attack action. He does get a crit into my knight for 3 points of damage. For my next activation, I'm going to go with Haldora. She doesn't have anyone to attack, which is too bad, but really, that's the downside of my guys being so efficient in their murder so far. So she's just going to use her Spurred by the Gods ability and touch forward a bit. The Gutter Runner in the north is next. He's going to use 2 actions to attack my knight. Only 2 dice with these ranged attacks, but he does manage to get a crit in for another 3 points of damage. So I'm going to activate that knight next, mostly because I want to hold off on everyone else until those other Skaven close in. He's going to use his healing potion first off. He's got 6 points of damage, and the healing potion heals d6. I roll 4, so that's just fine. He then spends his next 2 actions beating this Packmaster into a bloody pulp. In the west, the Storm Vermin makes another recuperate move action, which is just fine. He wants to make sure he is very, very healthy when he gets to my lines. I'm going to see if I can't fix that. I'm going to activate one of my Shield Marauders next. He's going to miss with his first attack action into that Storm Vermin, but then he's going to make up for his bad roll by double critting the next one, dumping 6 points of damage on the Elite Rat. The next Clan Rat also makes a recuperate move action, very health conscious, these rats, and so he just goes into my other Marauder. Activate my second Shield Marauder next. He goes and hits for 2 points of damage on his first round of attack, and then goes nuts and drops another 8 points of damage into that Storm Vermin, killing him. Nice job, you crazy, crazy Vikings. Next activate for the Skaven is the Warp Fire Thrower. Rolls that 5 or 6, and because he's in close range, he's within range of one of his weapons, he gets the Deadly Strike. Thankfully, that only dumps damage into a guy if he's within 1 inch. So I'm safe there, but he does get his normal 2 attack actions, and he fires his Warp Fire Thrower at the first Marauder with the shield, and drops 9 points of damage onto him. Kind of a lot, but the good news is that he's still alive with 1 health remaining. For my next activation, I go with the Flail that had moved out to help out the Knight. He goes and attacks that Gutter Runner. Again, 4 attacks because of Spurred for the Gods, kills off the Gutter Runner, nicely done, and then he moves back to the cluster of guys. We then go to the other Gutter Runner in the west. Again, he gets a Deadly Strike, but again, out of range, so he just makes his normal 2 attack actions. 2 attacks at strength of 3, that means he's hitting on 5s, only does 1 point of damage to my other Shield Marauder. I can take that. I activate one of my Flail Marauders next. With his 2 attack actions, he's able to kill off that Clan Rat that had gotten to my lines. Doing pretty well at keeping these rats away from my core group. The Western Packmaster makes a recuperate move. He does have a 3-inch range in his attack, so he could have possibly dropped some attacks into my guys. I'm fine with him hanging back a little bit. I'm running out of guys to kill around my pack, and I don't want to go running out into the Skaven lines, so I'm going to take one of my Flail Marauders and just wait. That means the Skaven get an activation, and next up is a giant rat who gets the charge result, so it gets a bonus move forward, has to take another move to get into range of its little bitey teeth, and then it goes and drops 2 crits and a hit into my lower Chaos Marauder with the shield for 7 points of damage. All of a sudden that guy's really hurt too. The Marauders with shields have taken a beating, but at least they're still standing. In response, the Marauder with the flail in the back that was waiting, well, he doesn't like that, and so in revenge he goes and squashes that giant rat to help out his friend. But then the newly arrived Clan Rat also gets a charge result, so he gets a bonus move action, takes his second move, and then gets to drop a number of attacks into that Shield Marauder with 1 health left. And he kills my Marauder. I've lost my first guy. In retaliation, I go and activate the Chaos Warrior that drank the Jabberslythe blood. He moves in and uses an onslaught with my last double. That plus the bonus for Spurred by the Gods and some really hot dice means that I drop 16 points of damage into this lone Clan Rat. I would have killed 2 of them. So he's very, very dead. That Marauder was a friend of mine. The Globadier is next, and he gets a recuperate move, so no attacks this round, but he's in a dangerous position for next one. My last Flail Marauder doesn't have anyone to hit, so he just makes a wait action. So we go on to the Skaven. The Clan Rat gets just his normal 2 actions, so makes a move into my hurt Marauder with shield. So now the waiting Marauder gets to attack, and he gets 2 crits on his dice for another 6 points of damage. So when I broke out the Warcry game, I substituted the dice that I normally roll with the dice that I got in the game. They roll a lot better than the regular green and black dice that I have been using. Those guys were usually pretty cold, but these Warcry dice, try them out. They work pretty well. So I have activated all my guys. It's just Skaven activations from now on, and all they have left are 2 giant rats. The first one gets a double move into my Marauder with the shield. That guy's in a dangerous position. And the other one gets a recuperate move, so he's still just a bit back. So with that, it's the end of the round. We go on to round 3. I get to roll new ability dice. I get 2 5s, 2 1s, and 2 singles. I've got 4 wild dice to spend this round, and I decide now's the time. I'm going to make the 5s a quad, spend 2 of my wild dice, and I'm going to make the 1s a triple. I've been waiting for an opportunity to use Rampage on my Chaos Knight, and I'd like to do it this round. So that's what that quad is for. And it's the reserves phase of round 3, so that means the Claw Lord arrives. And here he comes with all the guys I killed the round before. So he has a pretty healthy bodyguard, and I rolled a 1 again. So I guess I know where all these Skaven are coming from. They're coming from the west. That does present some difficulties. The east-west sides are further away from the center than the north-south. So while it means some of these attacks are a little bit further off, it also means that I can't rush this Claw Lord like I might like to, and also I have to fight through the guys that are still on the table in order to get to them. If they appeared somewhere else, I would have had the opportunity to maybe charge off in another direction with some of my guys and just leaving a couple guys behind to hold off the Skaven that are still on the table. As it is, it's looking like it's going to be a real big fight from here on out. I'm just going to have to blunt force my way through. That does mean that I'm still letting the Skaven get the first activation, though, and the first thing that happens is that Clan Rat activates and gets the Deadly Strike ability, and now I do have someone within 1 inch of them, and so he drops the 2 points required to kill off my last Shield Marauder, and so he dies. Uh-oh, there goes my front rank. He then still has 2 more actions, so he moves into my Flail Marauder, the next closest, and drops another 5 points of damage into him, so he's at half health. I told you these clan rats were terrible. But of course we can't let that kind of thing go unpunished, so I activate Haldora, Helsdoter, and she uses her triple to do Spurred by the Gods again, and then executes that rampaging clan rat. The Skaven have some hot dice of their own though. The next to activate is a giant rat who gets the charge result, so moves in, and then with its attacks causes 6 points of damage to my unhurt Flail Marauder. So at this point I've got some problems. I'm taking a lot of damage, and the next rats to activate are going to be these kind of dangerous ranged combatants. They're not going to move forward, so if my guys don't advance, I'm just going to have this one giant rat to attack. If I do advance, though, that means those guys that have just appeared in the west are going to have an easier time getting to my people and attacking, and I can't draw out that Claw Lord right into the middle of my guys like I wanted to. But in the long run, I think I'd rather take the chance, go in, get some attacks in, rather than waste a bunch of my activations. So, I go and activate the Chaos Warrior with the Jabberslythe Blood. I'm going to move him into that Globadier and attack the Warp Fire Thrower. That does a couple of things. Now the Globadier can only do its weaker punchy attack on me. And who knows, I might get lucky and actually kill off this Warp Fire Thrower, which would be great. In the end, with his 1 attack action, he comes pretty close. He gets a crit and 2 hits on the Warp Fire Thrower, causing 9 points of damage, because of course he has that Jabberslythe Blood bonus. But it's still alive, so let's see what the Skaven can do to counterattack. Next up is the Globadier, so he goes and uses 2 attack actions on my Chaos Warrior. Even though his punches are weaker, he does manage to get 2 crits in, causing 4 points of damage. But in response, I go and activate one of my Flail Marauders. He steps forward and kills off the Warp Fire Thrower. It was going to be close. The Warp Fire Thrower had 3 health left, but Flail Marauder managed to do it. That means it's the Packmaster who's up next, and he gets the Recuperate behavior, so he heals his non-existent damage, but he does have that Whip, which has a range of 3 inches, so he attacks the Chaos Warrior. He does get a crit, but it only causes 2 points of damage. So I'm still waiting for those Skaven reinforcements to hit my line, so I just activate one of my Flail Marauders, who goes and kills off that giant rat. He then moves up so that he's the next closest model and takes some of the heat off of my Chaos Warrior who's been taking damage. As a big welcome to the party, the next to activate is a giant rat, who again gets that charge behavior, so it gets a bonus move forward, and then drops a nice 7 points of damage into my Flail Marauder. Yeah, all across the line my guys are getting hurt. In response, my next Flail Marauder goes and kills off that giant rat and then moves up to support his friend. The Gutter Runner is the next to activate, and he misses my Chaos Warrior twice. My final Flail Marauder is kinda short on good targets, so he just moves up a little bit and attacks that Packmaster, only just 1 point of damage though. The next giant rat activates, and it gets its standard 2 actions, but it has a movement of 8, so it gets within range of my Chaos Warrior, and then gets a crit and 2 hits for 5 points of damage. That was brutal. That means that Chaos Warrior has 14 points of damage and is left on just 1 health remaining. So I've been holding off on this guy. I was hoping that that Claw Lord would move in close enough, allowing me to make this activation then, but I don't really have a choice now. I'm going to activate my Knight. The Knight is going to make 1 standard move, and he gets to move 10 inches, so he rolls in there quite a ways. Not quite as far as I would like, but still. And then I'm going to use that quad for Rampage, so he gets a bonus move and a bonus attack. So he rumbles in and kills that giant rat that just dropped all that damage into that Chaos Warrior. I may not be doing great at preventing damage, but I am doing okay at avenging it. And then just for good measure, I've got 1 attack action left. I turn on that Packmaster and kill him off too, so Chaos Knight making his presence felt. The main function of that move though is to get him closer to the Skaven than that Chaos Warrior so that he can start taking hits and preserve some of my attack power. And so sure enough, the next thing to happen is that Storm Vermin gets to activate. It gets his standard 2 actions, moves in and swings that halberd, which I've been a little worried about. But actually, its attack profile is a little underwhelming. 3 attack dice, 3 strength, 2/4 damage. So he still needs 5s to hit this Chaos Knight, and he only hits once for 2. My Chaos Warrior with the top knot activates next. He can't attack anybody, but I want to get him into position for next round. I want to put him central so that he can attack the Claw Lord after he moves in. As predicted, the Claw Lord activates next, and he gets his standard 2 actions. He moves into the Chaos Knight, and then shows why he's the boss. Yeah, he's a lot more serious. 4 attacks, strength 4, 2/5 damage. Still needs 5s to hit the Chaos Knight, but gets a hit and a crit for 7. Pretty good. The Gutter Runner activates next, gets Recuperate, and then his normal attack action, which misses. A Clan Rat gets its standard 2 actions, moves into the Chaos Knight, but thankfully misses him. Giant Rat gets a Recuperate move, which is just fine, so it heals non-existent damage, and then moves into the Chaos Warrior with the top knot. The Clan Rat does a little better though. He gets the charge result, moves in, and then crits the Chaos Warrior for 3. So now that Chaos Warrior is sitting on 12 points of damage, just 3 health remaining. And for the final activation, the Packmaster gets a Recuperate move, so he just heads in behind the whole party there. So now we have a real fight on our hands with our target in sight, but a whole bunch of Skaven within our ranks. Most of my guys are hurt, some of them are dead, but really this battle is just getting started. Moving on to round 4. Real consistent with my ability dice. Again, 2 sets of doubles, in this case 2 3s and 2 4s. I've got 3 wild dice to spend and I have to think about this for a while. The main thing I'm concerned about is that I think my Chaos Warrior with the top knot is probably going to die. He's got 2 people in contact with him, meaning there's about a 40% chance that one of them goes first, and all they need to do is land a crit and that guy's dead. So I'd like to activate him first and drop some attacks into that Claw Lord, which is right within range. But then again, I'd also like to do a Rampage. I'd also like to activate Haldora and activate her spurred by the gods. Although it'd be a good idea to leave her in reserve if I can, and try and get to a board edge if I manage to kill off the Claw Lord. In the end, I decide it's safest for me to try and activate that Chaos Warrior first. So of my 3 wild dice, I spend 2 of them to add 2 singles so that I can go before the Skaven, and I take my last wild die to make a triple 3s so that I can do spurred for the gods later on. And I will have a double to help out my Chaos Warrior with an onslaught for his first activation. With all that sorted out, it's time for the Endless Horde to come back, and I roll 1 again. So again, they are coming in from the west. That's actually interesting. With all the Skaven piled up in one place, it means that if I kill off this Claw Lord, I have a reasonable chance of getting away with Haldora to an unprotected board edge. Unless the board edge I need to get to is again a 1, the western edge, in which case I'm in real trouble. But there's nothing we can do about that now. We go into my first activation, which is of course that Chaos Warrior. He spends that double for an onslaught, meaning that with that chronomantic dial, he's going to have 5 strength 4 attacks doing 2/4 damage. He rolls his first attack action, and he spends his Destiny level reroll. Now's the time to spend those things, and he ends up doing 12 points of damage. For needing 4s to hit, that's not bad at all. The Clawlord has 20 health. So I'm feeling real good as I roll into his second attack action, and he does not disappoint, gets the 2 crits that he needs, and straight up murders this Clawlord on my first activation. That guy is probably going to die this round, but he is going down a hero. With the death of the Clawlord, I now have to roll a random table edge to see which spot I have to escape with Haldora from, and I rolled a southern table edge. The northern would have been better, she's closer to that. The southern table edge, I can't get within 1 inch of it this round. But on the other hand, the rats really aren't protecting it. For the first time in this game, I think I might be able to win. But I have to rethink my strategy here. If I let the rats get in and around Haldora, I think they're going to chew through whoever I move to protect her, and all they have to do is be within 3 inches of her when the turn ends to prevent me from succeeding. And with the speed of these Skaven, any rats that come in as reinforcements have a real opportunity to get right where I don't want them. I mean, they could just appear on that southern board edge and just completely mess me up. So while it's not a very slaves to darkness thing to do, the best way I have to win is to just hold position, hold everybody where they are, and don't attack. If I don't kill anyone, then nobody can reappear on the next round and attack Haldora. So that's the plan. The warband is going to make a heroic defense, just brace themselves behind their shields while their beloved leader heads for the door. So, on to the Skaven activation. Next rat to activate is the Storm Vermin, who with his 2 attacks hits the Knight for 4 points of damage. Alright, not too bad. And then I'm going to activate Helsdoter, and she is going to leg it to that southeast corner, get as far away from the rats and as close as I can to that board edge. To help that, she uses her triple, and normally it's a double, but I only have a triple here, to use Rush, adding 1 to her movement, so she can move 10 inches away. That looks like some comforting daylight between me and the rats, but remember, those giant rats can move 24 inches if they get a charge, so I don't feel really safe. Next to activate for the Skaven is a clan rat who does 1 point of damage to my Chaos Warrior, so he's still hanging in there. In response, my Knight waits. Next up is the clan rat fighting my Knight, and he gets the Deadly Strike ability, and he maxes out the damage for 6. That kills off the Knight. Worse yet, he still has 2 more attack actions. He wheels on that nearby Chaos Warrior with the Jabberslythe blood and kills him too. Clan rats are brutal. So it's my activation. I'm going to go with my Flail Marauder. I'm going to move this guy off to the left. That's going to do a couple of things. First off, that's going to put me in short range of that Globadier, so he has his weaker attack. And hopefully it'll also draw a couple of those Skaven away from Haldora and up to the northwest corner of the board. In response, the Globadier causes 3 points of damage to my Flail Marauder with his 2 attack actions. I'm going to activate another one of my Flail Marauders next, and he is going to move up to the north, again for much the same reason, just try and draw these rats away. Next to activate is the giant rat attacking the Chaos Warrior. It rolls Recuperate, which is nice, so it only gets 1 attack action, which misses. I take another Flail Marauder and pull him off to the north. The Gutter Runner activates next, and again he's in range for his throwing stars, so he takes his 2 attack actions and lobs them at the Chaos Warrior. Thankfully only does 1 point of damage. Again, the Chaos Warrior at 14 damage, 1 health remaining. The longer I can keep these guys alive and the more Skaven activations I can soak up, the better. My final Flail Marauder again moves to the north. It just accomplishes 2 things. It's drawing the Skaven up that direction, and also the further I can get from these Skaven, the less likely it is that they'll cause damage to these guys. Unfortunately, it's hard to get far enough away when your enemies have a movement of 8. I activate a giant rat next, and it gets the charge result, so it moves into the Marauder up on the north by the Globadier, and with its 2 attack actions manages to kill him. I only have 5 of my guys left now. Next to activate is the Clan Rat. It moves up and attacks my Chaos Warrior, missing. That guy's still alive. However, the next to go is the Gutter Runner, who with its ranged attack finally peels off that last hit point of damage, downing the Chaos Warrior and allowing the Gutter Runner to move off after my Marauders. You did great. Have a good rest there, buddy. Next is the Warpfire Thrower, which is a little concerning. It gets its standard 2 actions, but it has to move up first, and then fires at the Flail Marauder. This guy is unhurt, and he only gets 1 point of damage through, so a little lucky there. The next activation is a Giant Rat, who just gets a Recuperate and a Move, as does the Gutter Runner next. Next to go is a Giant Rat who gets the charge result, so it gets its bonus move, a regular move, and then attacks my Flail Marauder, but only manages to hit it for 2 points of damage, so that guy's pretty tough. And the final activation is the new Packmaster who just gets a double move up towards that same Marauder. So my guys did pretty well that round, even though they were hamstrung. We killed off the Claw Lord. Haldora made a good run to the southern board edge, and my guys did fairly well soaking up the Skaven attacks. They have to keep it up though. The Skaven can't kill off all my Marauders and allow any remaining Skaven to get a charge result and get within 3 inches of Haldora. For the ability dice of round 5, I get 3 threes and 3 singles. This probably is my best chance for a win, so I'm going to use both of my wild dice. I'm going to make the 3s a quad, and I'm going to add an extra single to make sure I get to go first. So I get first activation, and I think the smart play is probably just to disengage and move people away and limit the amount of damage that the Skaven can do. But then I think, wouldn't killing something also limit the amount of damage it can do? And I've got this Flail Marauder with this Giant Rat right up in his grill. And those Giant Rats are problems with how fast they are, and anything that I kill this round probably isn't going to have an opportunity to come back, because either I'm going to get surrounded and I'm going to eventually lose anyway, or I'm going to win this round. So I'm going to activate that Flail Marauder, and I'm going to drop 2 attack actions into that Giant Rat, but my dice cool down quite a bit, and I'm only able to do 2 points of damage. In response, that rat is the first to activate, and it gets the Recuperate action, so it heals up that 2 points of damage, and then for its next action, it just misses the Flail Marauder, so I guess it's all fine, it worked out. For my next activation, I'm going to continue to try and draw these guys up to the north. I'm going to activate my other Flail Marauder. He's going to move off a little bit and attack that Giant Rat by the Warpfire Thrower. Again, try and limit the number of fast things on the table. He does a lot better and kills him off with his 1 action. Next up is the Gutter Runner. He again gets a Recuperate behavior, and he's got 1 action to throw throwing stars into the flail, and he misses. And now I think I've held off as long as I dare. I'm going to activate Haldora, and I'm going to use the quad for a rampage, meaning she can make 3 move actions, bringing her right to the corner in the southeast. The Packmaster activates next and again has a little trouble hurting this lead Marauder. That guy's just got some thick skin. Only does 2 points of damage with his 2 attack actions. I then activate my flail and back him up as far as I can while still being closer than Haldora to all the remaining Skaven models. The Warpfire Thrower activates and gets Deadly Strike, which is just fine. He's too far away to cause that bonus damage, but it does get 2 attack actions, and the first of them kills that Northern Chaos Marauder with the flail, and then he gets a second attack action and he wheels over to the other one and does another 1 point of damage. Next for the Skaven is the Globadier. He is within range of that hurt Chaos Marauder. He rolls up Deadly Strike, but again, outside of 1 inch, so it doesn't get that bonus damage. And he goes and throws that glass globe filled with poisonous gas, and it only gets 1 attack dice. I'm not sure why I was so scared of that thing. Well, I'll tell you why I was so scared of that thing, because it does do 3 points of damage on a hit and 6 points on a crit, and this rat goes and rolls a crit on that poor Chaos Marauder that's just been shrugging off rat bites and stabs and whips and everything. So now that guy's dead, and the Globadier still has an action to move towards my last remaining Marauder in the north. He only has 4 health remaining and he has to survive, and I've got 8 Skaven left to activate. And some of those are those fast giant rats, some of them have ranged attacks. Good luck, guy. Next Skaven to activate is a clan rat who gets Recuperate Move. Fine, heal all you want. You don't get close enough to attack my Flail Marauder. Same thing with a Storm Vermin. Recuperate Move, too far away to attack. Giant Rat, even better, Recuperate Move. Next is a Gutter Runner who gets a standard 2 actions. He gets a Move. That's fine. A charge would have put him in range to throw the throwing stars, but as it is, no attacks on that Marauder. Next Giant Rat also helping me out with a Recuperate Move. Boy, the bad dice for the Skaven have come at just the right time. Just a couple more guys to hold off. The next Clan Rat gets 2 actions, meaning it can make a move, but no attacks. The next Clan Rat gets a charge result. Finally one of those. The good news is that by now we're down to the rats that are far away. He's over 13 inches away, meaning he gets that bonus move. He makes another move, still outside of 1 inch, so he makes that final move into my Chaos Marauder, but can't drop any attacks into him. Only one Skaven left. It's the Pack Master. He gets 2 actions, moves towards the Chaos Marauder, and so Haldora gets away. Within 1 inch of the southern board edge, no Skaven within 3 inches. Sure, all I have is one hurt Marauder with a flail left on my side, but we have succeeded. Obviously, I'm really happy about that. I think the most likely outcome in this scenario is that your guys just get overwhelmed underneath a huge tide of Skaven. But my dice were pretty hot throughout. I was doing a pretty good job of knocking down those Skaven as they came into my lines. The Slaves to Darkness army works pretty well under those circumstances, I think. Spurred by the gods plus a bunch of flails and some guys up front to absorb the damage. It almost seems like that's what they're made for. As for the Skaven, the main thing is that they were all piling in from that one flank. Of the 6 random table edges I had to determine for the Skaven, 5 of them were 1s. While that meant I couldn't really avoid them, it did make it so that they had further to go before they got into my guys, and it meant that I had an easier time determining who they were going to attack by alternately putting some of my tougher, healthier guys in front. So yeah, great job Haldora's Explorers. I would love to see the further exploits of this group of models. Maybe as a Mordheim warband, maybe in Warcry again. If Games Workshop publishes more solo campaigns, I would try them out, even with 2nd edition. But that is the campaign complete, so that is it for now. Thanks for watching, especially if you've watched all 4 games. Leave a comment below if you have any questions, observations, or concerns, and I will see you on the next one.